Hi, good evening, everyone. This is your facilitator for the day, Ramnath Dixit. You can just address me as Ram. We are waiting for other people to join in as well. So let's just wait for 2 or 3 minutes and post that we can begin with the program. Okay, so just hold on. And in case you need any help, you can always drop me a message in the chat. But at this moment in time, if you're able to see me and hear me properly and see the slides in the background, please give me acknowledgement by raising your hands and telling me that everything is all right. So please raise your hands. Okay, great, phenomenal. So let's just wait for a couple of minutes and then we can be good to go. Thank you. Okay, so good evening once again to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well in terms of health, in terms of both physical and mental health. So a warm welcome and good evening to all of you. My name is Ramnath Dixit, and people who know me on this forum all address me as Ram, so I prefer being addressed as Ram. So I thoroughly welcome you on this forum. Today's topic is not only interesting, but I think a must-know topic for survival in the corporate world. I don't know about you, but at least that's the way I look at this topic, an extremely interesting topic. So those who just joined in, just to make sure that you're all able to see me and hear me properly, and if you can see the slides in the background, why don't you quickly give me a confirmation by clicking on the raise your hand button so that I know that you're able to see me properly and hear me properly. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for that confirmation. Now, what is it that we're going to do? But before we get to that, just a quick background about who I am. So I've been in the corporate world for about 16 plus years now. And it's been a very, very interesting journey so far. And I've had my own share of corporate politics to deal with. So perhaps when we talk today, I'll be able to share some of that with you. And the whole idea of doing this topic is to help you survive and navigate your journey in the corporate world. So I think from that perspective, it's a great topic to look upon and pick some real good pointers for yourself. Okay, so few things that I would like to share with you as we progress in the session. Why don't you all, if you don't have one, if you have one, it's fine. Why don't you take a notepad or a diary so that any point in time you want to make notes, it's going to be really, really helpful. At this point in time, what we have done is we have ensured that your microphones and your cameras are on a switch off mode, but that is not to discourage you. That is just to ensure that while we are doing the session, it does not interrupt with the bandwidth of the forum. Okay. Also, at this point in time, you also have this option called as the chat box. So how do you use the chat box? I request all of you to open the chat box. There is an option on the toolbar called More. If you click on that, the first option that you see is the chat box. So kindly open the chat box, and at the bottom of the chat box, you should be able to see by default selection as all panelists and attendees. Okay, all panelists and attendees. If that is not the default option, kindly change it to all panelists and attendees. So now if you've made the change, I want you to quickly click on yes. Okay, so perfect. So that means that you've made the change, and every time you type in a message now, it will be visible to all people on the forum. And this will be a 60 to 90 minute session followed by an after class wherein I'm going to address your questions. So any questions that you have any point in time, my request is do make a note of your questions. I would love to address your questions. So do not leave any questions unanswered. So how do you ensure that? As soon as you have a question at the back of your mind, you make a quick note of that. Towards the end of the session, we have a formal closure, and then we also have an after class. And during the after class, I'll be addressing all your questions so that you have satisfactory responses, which you can go back and apply. Also, this is a forum which is very, very, very practical. So everything that I'm going to share with you is meant to help you go back and implement that in your context, right? Because if you can't apply it, it's no good, right? So the whole focus, the whole emphasis is on how can I, as an individual, go back and apply this in my context. That's something which I am going to try and ensure that we help you in the best possible way. Okay, and you can use the chat box very lavishly. So any suggestions, any thoughts, any questions that I ask, anything that you would like to respond, feel free to use the chat box very, very effectively. It's going to help you connect with me and connect with the rest of the participants as well. So feel free to use the chat box in an elaborate manner. Also, an interesting factor, towards the end of the session, we will also have a small assessment. Now, why is this assessment there? Because when you complete the assessment and provided you score 70%, you are eligible to receive a certificate. And it's a very valuable certificate, let me tell you that. So please listen to the conversation very, very carefully. And all you have to do is participate willingly, okay? So let your ears, let your eyes, let your mind all be open and ready and alert, so that you can pick all the points that are coming your way. Do make a note of those points. And while you give the assessment, it will be a cakewalk, okay? And not just 70%, I think you're eligible to score 100 out of 100. So make sure you pick all the points as we progress through the session. And as I said, your questions, I will definitely address those when we have the after class, right? So if you're all ready with whatever I've told you so far, just give me a show of hands and tell me you're all ready so that we can kickstart the session. There you go. The manner in which all of you are clicking show your hand button shows me that you're really excited about it. And why not? The topic is like that. You'd love to know what does the topic contain. Fantastic. Great. So let's begin without any further ado. Now I'm going to ask you, when I tell you the word or the words rather, office politics, what is the first thought that crosses your mind? So just take a moment and tell me what is the first thought that crosses your mind. You can drop me a message in the chat box. Even before I tell you what I mean by this, I just want to know your perspective. So when you think of office politics, what is the first thought that comes to your mind? So please go ahead. I'll give you 10 seconds and then I'll look forward to your thoughts in the chat box. I really hope to see some very interesting thoughts coming up there. So go ahead and tell me what is the first thought that comes to your mind when I think or talk of office politics. Okay, let's see. Okay, we are getting in few thoughts. Okay, Bindu says interpersonal relationships with internal customers. Okay, that's a very, very technical way of putting it, but nonetheless, I'll take that. Biased approach, says Ganesh. Favoritism. All right. Govind also says employee bias. Suresh says to grab the name even while the work is of others, to take credit, undue credit is what Suresh is referring to. Jay Krishnan says nepotism. Yes, that's one of the things that's being spoken about quite loudly in the Bollywood circles. But honestly, nepotism is a part of any industry that you're part of. It's something which you see that the king would want to throw his son or his daughter. So part and parcel of any such industry that we are part of. Anything else apart from that you can think of in terms of office politics? Protecting oneself by any means. Okay, Manjusha, what you said is also correct. You have to protect yourself, especially if politics is likely to hurt your prospects negatively. So how do you protect yourself in a very vicious kind of an environment? That's very true. Anil says working against the direction. Okay, very philosophical, but yeah, true in a sense, working against direction. Mani says happens more due to someone's insecurity. Yeah, so we'll talk about how people can feel insecure with your actions and what you can do about it. Relationship between employees across levels. Perfect. So I think all the thoughts are in the right direction. Now, one trend, if you see in all the thoughts that you've shared with me, and these are thoughts you have shared with me, I've not told you anything. So you are a clean slate right now without me contaminating your thoughts. What I make out of these thoughts is, in general, when we think of politics or office politics, even the latest idea of Abhishek, groupism, all these thoughts are hinting at office politics being perceived as being negative, isn't it? So the moment I talk about politics, forget office politics. Even if I use the word politics, the first thought is, oh my God, he's playing politics with me. That means he's a bad person. He's trying to manipulate me. But is that true? Is that true? Because politics, like anything else, is both a science as well as an art. And it's important that we learn politics. It's important that we are a part of it. Either you can get crushed by it, or you can use it to your advantage to help people. In fact, if you look at the definition of politics, it talks about public welfare, people welfare. Unfortunately, that's not how we look at politics in general. So let's understand more about office politics, and let's see how we can use it best to everyone's advantage. We're not trying to crush hopes. We're not trying to demean someone, or we are not trying to settle scores here. But what we mean by office politics is in a different connotation, in a very, very positive connotation. So in a sense, what we're saying is office politics is being aware of the interpersonal dynamics. When I say interpersonal dynamics, it's about how relationships between people map out at the workplace in order to achieve certain objectives while keeping practicality or reality in mind. So it is about interpersonal relationships with people, how the change of relationships at the workplace impacts the workplace scenario. And that is where you need to keep your eyes and your ears open and your mind open to understand the practicality of what is happening in the office setup. Okay. And especially in the corporate world, now, not just in the corporate world for that matter, wherever you talk about people, you will have politics. So as long as there are people, there will be politics. It's as simple as that. You cannot separate people from politics. If you agree with what I just said, give me a show of hands. And I'll give you a simple example for that. Look at your own family. Look at your own family and tell me if there is anyone on the forum, if you feel that there is zero politics in your family. If you feel there is zero politics in your family, you can drop me a comment and tell me why do you think so. So I'll give you some time. Anyone who feels that in my family, oh, zero politics, no politics at all, everything is straight and clear, and we don't see any politics. Okay, so I'll be very happy. Okay, anyone who feels there is no politics in my family, you can drop me a comment and tell me how do you think, or what makes you think there is zero politics in your case. Oh, we're getting some comments. All right, Mani says, in my family, I'm the politician. So basically there is politics, right? If others are not applying it, you are applying it. So as Lakshmipati rightly pointed out, it is everywhere. There is no family in the world where there is no politics. Similarly, there is no office in the world where there is no politics. Now that's why it's important to understand it, know it, and apply it in the right context. And when I say politics, I'm not trying to use politics from the view of threatening or hurting other people's chances. It's about securing one's own chances, securing one's own opportunities, and making sure that you don't become a victim in the whole play of politics. That is where politics is an important phenomena for us to learn and understand. So when we talk of offered politics, I spoke to you about interpersonal dynamics between people. Also, when we talk about using political means or using tools and techniques in politics, we're talking about gaining power, because power influences. The person has got power, and when I say power, not necessarily money. Power might come from position. Power might also come through influence. Sometimes you see there are people who are not very experienced, but they are the ones who are respected a lot in the team environment. And therefore, whatever he or she says, everyone else follows. Okay, so the power dynamics also play out in that sense. Especially in the Indian context, there was a research conducted by a person called Hofstede, and he looked at the power play, the power distance in organizations across the globe. And what he saw is the power distance in a lot of European, American, Japanese companies is comparatively on the lesser side. For example, if you look at the European companies, the power distance is very, very low. In American companies, slightly more. Now, what is power distance? Power distance is the distance that you have with your boss. So for example, how strong are the hierarchical relationships that exist in the office? Is the boss trying to say, look, I'm the boss, I'm the boss, I'm the boss. And you're saying, okay, sir, okay, sir, okay, sir. So that's called a power distance. So that's comparatively low in the European context, slightly more in the American context. And when you come to India, it's far, far bigger and deeper. Now, that's also the fact why Indians in general, and you might be one of them, why we Indians in general tend to look at designations as the most important thing. The reason? Power distance. Because we see a lot of power associated with position. So who are you? People never say, who am I in terms of their name. People will all say, well, I'm the senior sales manager. I'm the operations head. Hey, I'm the vice president. I'm the general manager. I'm the CEO. And that's where you see a lot of startups, even if there is only one person starting the company, they will print a visiting card and they will say CEO of XYZ company. Just one person, but still is the CEO. Why? Because in our context, we gain a lot of power. At least we feel a lot of power using designations and positions. Yeah. Give me a show of hands if you agree with that philosophy, or if you've seen something like that play out in the corporate context as well. Because we associate and we attach a lot of significance with designations and the power that designations is. But naturally, wherever you see politics, it is an outcome of interplay of relationships between people. There are goals that people have. Each person working in an office environment has his or her own goal and his or her own personality. So there is a lot of intermingling, intertwining expectations, goals, and personalities at the workplace, which really makes politics both interesting and at the same time it could be dangerous as well if not controlled well. So let's try and understand what is not politics. Normally, as I started, we always think of politics being nasty or not so good. Yeah, politics is bad. Politics should be avoided. I don't play politics. Okay, that's how people normally say, to prove that they are ethical and they're logical and they're rational. But honestly, is politics always bad? Not. So as I said, politics actually has been invented as a science, which is meant for public welfare. But unfortunately, people don't use it that way. People only use politics for own welfare, not public welfare. And that's why I think the notion that politics is a nasty business, a dangerous thing. So stay away from politics. But it's not nasty business. It's how you apply politics. Like any other scientific invention, let's, for example, talk about a knife. A knife can be used to cut vegetables and a knife can be used to stab someone. So it's about how you use the knife. That's what matters, or a gun for that matter. You know, people often blame that a gun is a bad thing, right? But if a gun is used to protect innocent civilians, then the gun is a boon, not really a curse. The same holds true for politics as well. You know, and I'm going to slightly digress from here. Okay, and I'm going to ask you to go back to your own family as well. The reason I'm asking you to correlate this with your own family is because, as you all agreed, there is politics, some amount of politics in every house. So if you think of the word mother-in-law, okay, if you think of the term mother-in-law, either a male or a female, as the case might be, what do you think? Whether people normally think positive or negative. So I just want you to write down the word positive or negative in the chat box. The moment I say mother-in-law, that's it. Nothing else beyond that. Whether you're a male or a female, whatever your gender. Okay, so going by the thoughts, it's very obvious that a majority of people, you would still say, oh, my mother-in-law is the best. I love her. Well, congratulations if that is the case with you. But as I can see, a lot of people in general tend to perceive, I'm saying perceive, does not mean your mother-in-law is a negative person. It just means that there is a perception of mother-in-laws not being positive, not being so nice, being very strict, sometimes being rude. Does that mean the mother-in-law bad? No, but it's perceived as a negative relationship. Similarly, when we talk of politics, it is more of a negative connotation. Right from the time you're born to this very day, whenever someone talks to you about politics, in your mind, you compartmentalize politics as something being bad, as something that is undesirable. Just like the word mother-in-law, the word politics is also considered to be a negative word, but it's not. So that's something which I would like to share with you. And the reason I'm harping on this point over and over again is because unless you stop looking at politics as being negative, you cannot use politics the right way. Okay. So it's important that in your mind, you fix this notion that politics per se is neither positive nor negative. It's how you use positive or how you use politics the right way that makes it positive and practical. Okay. So that's the point I'm trying to focus on. Myth number 2, people who are at the topmost level in the organization are the ones who use politics. But my boss and my boss, a very, very political guy. And look at the super boss. Oh my God, he plays politics every day. You've heard these statements over and over again, isn't it? And normally what happens is the coffee table discussions or discussions that happen in the pantry room, in the canteen, in the cafeteria. A lot of these discussions are on politics in the organization. Okay, where we talk about, oh, the topmost bosses, they decide who goes where and they shuffle people and they do all of this, you know, for what? For their own gains. Politics say, you can't do anything about it. No, we keep harping on that point. But let me be honest with you. It's not just the person on the top. It's even the person who is the bottommost, even the new joinee in the organization, right from the moment he joins the company and he's in a team, he is a part of politics. So you're part of the system. We are all feeding into the system some amount of political influence from our side. For example, imagine a 6-month-old baby, okay, who is on the bed, yeah, and his mother is spending time with other members of the family. Now the baby suddenly starts crying. Why does the baby cry? Because he wants to seek his mother's attention. He wants his mother to attend him and help him either in terms of food, or he just wants care and love and empathy, whatever it is. But the child starts to cry to tell his mother that I need you. Even if you look at that, that is a very, very subtle action which has got some political influence behind it. Because the child is trying to grab his mother's attention. He's trying to tell you that I need you. Okay, and I'll go to any extent to get your attention. That's politics. Okay. So we often use the phrase when it comes to politics and organizations, we often use the phrase, crying baby gets milk. Okay. And one example of that is you often see, you know, sometimes people would say, I'm going to put in my papers. I'm not going to continue with this company anymore. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this offer letter और मैं अपने boss के मुंह पे मारूंगा और बोलूंगा देखो मुझे इतना CTC मिल रहा है बाहर. So you either increase my salary or I quit. Yeah, that's a trick, right? What are you doing here? What are you doing? You are actually playing politics. So stop calling politics by names. Now, is that bad? Not necessarily, because if that works in your favor, it doesn't adversely impact the organization or other people involved in it. Well, you have used politics the right way. You know where to pull the plugs, what are the strings that you need to pull to get work done. But you have actually been a part of politics. If you agree with me, give me a show of hands that this is an example of how people, even at the lowest level in the organization, tend to be a part of politics. Okay, so everybody across the organization plays politics. Okay, now is playing politics a waste of valuable time? Again, not necessary. Because as I said, if you use this in the context of helping yourself or your team or sometimes even organization, it can really be a very, very fruitful activity to be a part of. So it's all depends on how you use it. So those are some of the myths which I thought are important for us to overcome. Because if you think politics is negative, 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 then you start hating it. Also, it starts impacting you adversely even more. So I want you to understand the fact that there is nothing negative about it until people start using it only for personal gains and also for threatening or ridiculing other people or spoiling their chances. That becomes bad politics. So politics per se, not bad. Now, so far what we have done is we have tried to bunk a few myths. I'm going to leave you with an exercise now. Okay, and this is a very interesting one. I want you to do it on your own. So this is what I want you to do. The question that you got to ask yourself is, why do you think is it important for you to be good at politics? Now, we just saw politics per se is not bad. Okay, fine, I agree with that. But why should I learn politics? What is there to gain from this? So I want you to think about it. So take a minute, perhaps 30 seconds to a minute. Think about it. I want you to think about it. Don't rush with your answers. Okay. A smart politician never rushes with his answers. So take your pause. Okay. Look at the best politicians. They take a pause. Take a pause. Think about it. And when you're ready with the answer, you can go to the chat box and you can share your answers with me. Okay. So 30 seconds. Think, apply, and then answer. Okay. So I'll give you some time. So we are getting in a few thoughts now. Let's see what thoughts people are coming up with. It increases your mental strength, says Vipin. Okay, career progression, very true. To know what's happening around and be prepared. Yes, Muthu Kumar, even that's true. You need to know what is happening in the environment around. Now, just like there is politics within the organization, there is also a lot of politics within the industry. Okay, so politics is internal, it is also external. Timely completion of task, good rating. Yes, Fancy, that is correct. You also need to go get to that. To keep good relations. Yes, absolutely. I think politics helps you to build great relationships. If you use it the real way, it definitely helps you to build great relationships at the workplace, to gain position of power, emotional maturity. Perfect, George. I really love that point. Emotional maturity, because if you use politics the right way, that means you are able to understand people, you are able to understand personalities, and you are able to influence decision making at the organization. So in a sense, it also helps you to enhance your emotional quotient, your emotional maturity in any given situation. Perfect. So I think all of these are correct answers. Whatever you have said so far, I completely agree with different perspectives that have come in. So the fact is, you cannot avoid it. Number one, you cannot avoid office politics, and therefore you can either be a part of it or you can allow people to play with you and use you to their advantage, right? So therefore, you need to understand that office politics is something which you cannot avoid. Also, workplace decisions get impacted by the interplay of politics. Promotions get decided by politics. Also, how you get resources in your organizations is also a part of politics. Also, how you frame your sentences. What kind of words are appealing to people? What kind of statements should you use? And what kind of statements should you not use are also part of politics. Okay, so office politics is inevitable. I'll give you an example. Now, this is a story. It's a fictitious story, but it's an interesting one. So there was an atheist. Who is an atheist? Someone who doesn't believe in God. Okay, so he was on a ship and there were other mariners, other merchants, all of them on the ship. And the ship was caught in a storm, a deadly storm. And now the ship was moving harshly in rough waters. And everyone said that this is going to be the end of it. We can't survive. And there was a wise person aboard. So he came forth and he told everyone that, look, the only way we can survive this storm and save our life, there is only one chance. And they're all like, okay, tell us, what is the chance? And he says, if an atheist prays to God, then the storm will go away. If an atheist, a non-believer in God, if he prays to God and asks for help, then God will help us and we will all survive. We will all pass through the storm. And they are all running helter-skelter and they're trying to find an atheist. And this guy was a very popular guy because he was a non-believer, an atheist. So they catch him and they bring him in front of this guy. And now the atheist tell, look, you're the only person who doesn't believe in God. So what we want you to do is we want you to pray. If you pray to God, the storm will go away, our life will be spared. Now this guy doesn't believe in this, but he has no choice because he's been overpowered by people. So because there is so much of political force and pressure on him, he has no choice. So he says, okay, if you guys insist, then I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. But he believes that it's not going to work. So he's also told one more thing. He said, look, because you're praying to God, if God answers our prayers, you have to sell off your property and the proceeds of that will have to be donated in charity. तो आपको प्रार्थना करनी है और प्रार्थना करने के बाद अगर भगवान ने मदद की तो अपनी प्रॉपर्टी बेचिए और सारा पैसा दान कर दीजिए. You have to donate it in charity. This guy said, well, doesn't seem like it. My prayers will not be answered. So what's the big deal? Let me do it. So it starts praying. Okay. And suddenly the storm stops. Everyone is happy. They're dancing now. So the young man is called upon and the wise man in front of him tells him that, look, remember what you need to do. As soon as you reach the city, you have to sell your property and you have to donate it. What should I do now? But he has to do it because if he doesn't do it, he will be penalized for it. Everyone will attack him. So this guy goes back home and he gives an advertisement in the newspaper saying property for sale. What does the advertisement read? Property for sale. But with one condition. So there is an asterisk mark and that says conditions apply. So the conditions are not revealed. So next day, there are many people who are interested to buy his bungalow. It's a huge bungalow, beautiful bungalow, and it's a famous bungalow. So everyone is interested to buy the property. And he says, the condition is anyone who wants to buy my property will also have to buy my dog with it. Bangle ke saath aapko kutta bhi kharidna padega. People say, what kind of condition is this? He says, that is the condition. Either you take it or leave it. They say, okay. And he says, the price of my bungalow is 1 rupee. And the price of my dog is 30 crores. कुत्ते की कीमत 30 करोड़, बंगले की कीमत 1 रुपए. They say, are you sure? Are you insane or something? He said, no, that's a condition. बंगला चाहिए तो कुत्ता खरीदना पड़ेगा. People say, okay. And now he sells his property. And how much did he sell it for? 1 rupee. And how much did he get? He got 30 crores. But is he going to donate 30 crores? No. Now what he just did is that he used politics to save himself. There is nothing wrong in using politics to save yourself the right way. So the fact is, if the situation demands you to apply politics and be smart, then being smart is necessary. You can't stay stupid and think, oh, I'm an innocent person. I will not pay politics. But if politics is necessary in the situation, you have to apply politics. That's what this guy did. Now, whether it was ethical, non-ethical is a secondary part of it, but he lived by the law. He said, whatever proceeds I get by sale of my house, I will donate that as charity. And he donated 1 rupee or 10 rupee, whatever the case was. But he kept the major proceeds for himself. So the fact is, it is inevitable. You can't avoid it. And when people are good at politics, what are they able to do? What are they able to achieve when people are good at it? So one thing that you see are they are able to get a lot of things done in the organization. So you'll see people who are political, as soon as they make a request, their requests are adhered to. Why is that so? Because they know who is the person who will fulfill their request. So they don't go requesting anyone and everyone. They are also aware of the fact who are the people who will support their decision. So they know how to get buy-in. For example, in a meeting room, okay, everyone's ideas are being presented. Someone who is smart enough will know who is the person who is likely to support his idea. How do you get more sponsorship for your ideas? That's also part of politics. So someone who is good at that will be able to garner more support. He will also be able to fetch more resources for himself and for his team, which will be very, very critical in terms of advancing in the organization. Now, these resources could be more people, more money, whatever the case might be. So how do we become good at it? What can be done? How can we ensure that politics can be used, leveraged the right way to our best advantage? So here are a few tools and tips. Ready? So I'm going to give you 3 tips. So far, so good. Give me a show of hands if you've understood everything that I've told you so far. I think this is fairly straightforward, fairly clear. Okay, good. Now, I want you to tell me before I share something with you. I'm going to share some tools and tips, but you guys are expert. I'm going to treat you with a lot of respect given your expertise and your experience. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me one thing. It's like a guru mantra. If you have to tell someone how to apply politics, how to be good at politics, based on your experience, what is it that you're going to tell people? So I'll give you 10 seconds. Think about it. Okay. You can either tell me what to do or what not to do to be good at politics. Okay. So 10 seconds. So think about it, but just think about it. Don't just say anything. Okay. So think about it and share your thoughts. I'll give you 10 seconds to do that. Go ahead. Okay. So I can see few thoughts. Devika says one needs to listen, one needs to understand well what is happening in the office context. Govind says be good at your behavior with your colleagues. Very important that you have good equation with people working with you. Now people might say, why should I bother about what people think about? In a sense, you could be very courageous, but your courage should not be put to test every time. If there is a possibility that you can avoid an argument, avoid a conflict, avoid it by all means. Okay. Don't always be ready with your sword in your hand. That's foolishness. That's foolishness because neither do you have the energy nor do you have the time to fight so many battles. So a smart politician or a smart corporate politician, let's call him a corporate politician, will always choose his battles very, very carefully. So I'm not saying don't put your foot down. There are certain occasions when you have to put your foot down and get things done, especially if it's value or ethical to do that. But that does not mean that every time, mujh mein himmat hai, I'm very brave. Let's see who is going to defeat me. You don't need to do that. So one thing is you need to avoid unnecessarily portraying yourself as being courageous, being brave, where it's not necessary. Use it where it's necessary. Okay. Be unpredictable. Yeah, very good, Abhishek. Abhishek says, don't let people gauge what you're going to do next. Be unpredictable. Okay. Be a good listener and never overreact. You don't need to be a part of any camp. Okay, these days you hear of a lot of camps in Bollywood, in general politics as well. People who support this party, people who are against that party. So there are also diplomatic parties that are getting created, and that can also, in fact, hurt your chances if you don't know what is the right way to go about it. Apply politics as desirable for corporate expectations. Okay. Treat your colleagues at par. Very, very important. And I think this thought has been repeated by quite a number of people, is that it's important that you have good equation with your colleagues. Now, will you have deep relationships with everybody? No, that may not be possible. It's just like you don't have every friend as a best friend. There are certain friends who are called acquaintances. Bas pehchante hain. We know them, they know us. There are certain friends who are best buddies. We can help each other and we are there for each other. There are someone who are called cronies. Who are cronies? Oh, we know each other for such a long time. We are childhood friends. So the relationship goes that much more deeper. So not everyone is the closest when it comes to your relationships. You have to therefore maintain your equation. Similarly, look at the place where you stay. For example, if you live in a cooperative housing society, you will have different people and different kinds of equations with each of those people, isn't it? So that's very, very important for you to understand that you're going to treat everybody at par, everyone with respect, but the equation that you share with each one of them is going to be slightly different. Also the case when you are in a family. So for example, you love your mother, you love your father, or you might love your mother, but you don't love your father to the same extent. You might respect your father out of fear, or you might be more closer to your elder brother or your younger sister. What you're doing is you're choosing the extent of relationship that you want to have with a particular person. Similarly, you could say, you know what, when it comes to my boss is my mentor. He tells me exactly what to do. I do that and I've seen results coming out of it. So I have a great relationship with him. But I don't have the same kind of relationship with my colleagues. But that does not mean you have bad relationship with your colleagues. It means that the depth of relationship is different when it comes to your boss and when it comes to your colleagues, right? Similarly, it could be a fact that someone asked you, hey, do you know so-and-so person in that team? Yeah, I've spoken to him once or twice, but I don't really know him per se as an individual. So what you're saying is, I know him, he knows me, but that's about it. The depth of the relationship ends there, right? So the fact is, you should have good equation with everyone, but the relationship will differ from person to person. Yeah. Do you agree with what I just said? And have you understood what I'm trying to say here? Is that good equation with everyone, but the depth of relationship will differ from one person to other person, right? So let's look at what is it that we can do therefore. So the first thing that you can look at is decide on a career or a workplace goal. Now, what is a workplace goal? When you are in a workplace, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Now, a workplace goal could be set in multiple contexts. What is it that you want to accomplish from this workplace? Is it only about money, that my job here is to come work from morning to evening, get as much incentives as possible and make my way out? What is that goal? Or is your goal to ensure that whatever efforts you're putting in will help you achieve a so-and-so designation by the end of the day? So you've got to be very clear as to what is your expectation of working in a corporate setup. Okay. For example, your goals would be 2 years or 3 years down the line, I would like to head my department, or I would want to be head of my function, or I want to have so much percentage of increase in my salary. Now, depending upon your goal, your actions will have to give power to your goal. If your actions and your goal are working in opposite directions, then that's a problem. Because now what is happening is a lot of people say, you know what, I don't work for money. I just work for passion. Very good. If you're working for passion, excellent. So you should be clear about what is your goal then. So your goal is, I want to ensure 100% satisfaction from the work that I'm doing. I'm not working for money. Excellent. So be clear about it. Whatever your goal, you should be clear and you should be convinced this is my goal. Based on your goal, ask yourself, perhaps it's a good idea to write down, am I taking the right steps? Am I using the right strategies to ensure that my goal will one day come true? Because unless your actions are supporting your goal is only a pipe dream, and that's never going to come true. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is you map influential people. Now, I want you to tell me, how do you map influential people? So who are influential people? These are the people in the organization who, when they do something or when they say something, things get done. So how do you map influential people? How do you get to know about them? So can anyone tell me, how do you first of all identify influential people in your organization? Anyone? So what I'm asking you is, in your organization or at your workplace, how do you know who is an influential person? Well, your reporting officer, Govind has added a point here that says our reporting officer. Well, your reporting officer might not always have an influence at the workplace. You might respect your manager, and you should, but he may or may not be an influential person because his manager may not find him to be worthy. Yeah. So that could always be the case. Yeah, a person who has the ability to get things done. Now, for example, someone who is part of the organization for a long, long time, someone who's been working here for 12, 15 years may exert influence by virtue of his duration in the organization. That's an influencer. So people respect him out of the sheer fact that he has spent so many years in the organization. Yeah. Also, sometimes influencers will be identified based on the fact that their ideas are generally accepted unanimously by people. So someone gives an idea in a meeting and people lap it up. Why? Because they see this is a smart idea. So someone who has the ability to convince other people easily can become an influencer. Now, it's important to identify when you want to achieve your goals, who are the influencers with whom you can connect to get your goals done or get your goals achieved. Um, Sometimes people are influencers just by the virtue of designation as well. So someone who's like a CEO or the COO or people who are at the topmost pedestal in the organization are heavily influencing policies and decisions made in the organization. Okay, and that can also help you to understand who are the person or who are the people to connect with. So when you're identifying influential people, what is it that you need to keep in mind is you need to list down. Look at the people in your organization who have influence or authority. Authority normally comes by designation, but not only through designation. Sometimes people have authority because their ideas are accepted, because they're old in the organization, they enjoy the respect of all people in the organization. That works in their favor. Also, you can add to your list generally people whose ideas get accepted quite easily, or people who are considered to be smart, intelligent, and who have the capability to give better ideas. So these are the people that you need to really map. So once you create this list, identify whom you know and whom you don't know. Okay, identify whom you know and whom you don't know. Let me slightly take the context of what we do as a nation. So several years ago, Hillary Clinton, who's a very important person in the American political hierarchy, when she came to India, she told one thing to her diplomat. She said, you need to learn things from Indian diplomats. And why is that so? Because Indian diplomats are considered to be very smart when it comes to forging international relationships. And international relationships work on these lines, is that we as a nation look at who are the global influencers. So often you can see that visits by important people to India is considered to be very strategic. For example, a very simple question. If there are two things which are going to happen over the course of 1 week, the president of United States is going to visit India and the president of Uganda is going to visit India. Which of these statements do you think will make news headline? Naturally, smartly, the visit by president of the United States, because that's considered to be a very important strategic step. That is because the person has got global influence. So when we talk of Barack Obama or currently when we talk about Donald Trump, these are global influencers. So if you try and see what is happening in our context, is we are trying to officially look upon all people who have global influencers. That includes people like Donald Trump, it includes Vladimir Putin, it includes Netanyahu from Israel, and it includes some of the most important people where the nation might not be bigger, but the influence is still bigger. For example, Israel, when we talk of Netanyahu, who's the Prime Minister of Israel, the nation by size is very small, but the influence is very big. So we always look upon people who might not be very big in terms of their territory, but their influence is definitely beyond the territory or scope of their nation. We tried to force the same relationship with China as well. Well, we are still struggling, we're trying our best. But the fact is, you've got to manage these equations. The Prime Minister of Japan, yes, absolutely. That is another example that you can talk about. So the fact is, once you list them, it is important to know who are the people out of these whom I know, who are the people I don't know. People whom I don't know but are necessary for me, what steps am I taking to forge relationship with those people? What am I doing to ensure that I'm able to reach out and I am in their good books? Now, why is this done? Why is it important for you to be in the good books of influencers? Can anyone tell me about that? Why is it good? Why is it important for influencers to have a positive opinion about you? Anyone who can tell me about that? Just think about it. So once you've created the list of influencers, I'm saying that you need to reach out to them. And I'm also adding that it's important that the influencers look at you positively and they have a good opinion about you. Why is that so? Very good. So Fancy says that gives you visibility in the organization. There are 10,000 employees typically in a bigger organization, or at least a few thousand employees. Why should people bother about you? You might say, oh, I work hard. Very good. Excellent. Great. But there are many people who work hard. Everybody is working hard, whether they want to or they don't want to, they are working hard. What gives you visibility is people who are at an influential position when they know you. Okay. So it's an important thing that you are aware of those people who are influencers for them to have a positive opinion about you. And you've got to make an effort to connect with them. Where can you connect with these people? For example, one of the opportunities that you can connect with these people is during corporate parties. Okay, so when you have a corporate party, normally I've seen people hanging around with their own friends. Very good, you should do that. That's why parties are arranged. But also try and spend time with the influencers in the organization. So for example, if you have known a person to be an influencer, but you don't know him personally, this is the opportunity. Approach that person and say, hi, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so department or so-and-so team. Just wanted to meet you and say hi. I hope you're all doing good. If you need any help or if there is anything that I could be a part of, please do let me know. So connect with people in an informal way during such occasions. Corporate parties, awards or rewards and recognition ceremonies are a great platform where you can do that. You can forge relationships. Many a times people get to see their CEO, their CEOs on television, perhaps on CNBC India or other news channels. But if you get to meet them in corporate forums, like for example, a lot of companies tend to have open houses or townhouse meetings, which is generally conducted by either the HR head or sometimes the CEO. And the CEO would be in front of you. You can feel him and you can experience him live. That is a great opportunity. How can you make your presence felt and increase your visibility and connect? One of the simplest ways is asking the right questions. So for example, your CEO has made a statement about what are the plans the company has over the next 10 years. Great, everything has been spoken about. Sir, I have a question. Yes, please go ahead. And you ask the right question. Guess what happens? There is an opportunity where the CEO will turn back to one of his trusted aides and say, who is that guy who asked me that question? Which team is he part of? That's lottery. What has happened is out of 10,000 people, suddenly you have gained more visibility. And that's what you should try and attempt. This is not out of luck. Sometimes people believe, oh, he was so lucky. No, you create your own luck. You want people to identify you. You got to work towards your visibility. Reach out to the influential people. Talk to them during such forums. Do not miss out an opportunity. I've seen people not attending corporate parties or rewards and recognition ceremonies or, for example, townhouse meetings by saying that mujhe bahut kaam hai, so I'm going to attend work. Good, but these are not the moments where you only focus on what you do, because everybody will do that. But a smart person will look at these as opportunities to forge new relationships and to increase your visibility in the organization. Yeah. If you agree with this point, give me a show of hands if you agree with what I just said. But I think this is extremely vital for your career, that you go out there, make your presence felt, increase your visibility by connecting with influential people. Step number 3, once you connect with these people, you have to identify who are some of the mutual guys who can introduce you. Yeah. Is there someone that they know and I know? Okay. Or is there a project where you can add value, or they can be someone who can suggest or perhaps be an advisor to one of your ongoing projects? Okay. Are there any trainings that they are presenting which you can attend? For example, sir, I've just heard that tomorrow you're going to do this technical training in the organization. I just wanted to know if I can attend that. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. I would love to be a part of this training. Be a part of that training. Show your keenness. Now, these are things which will take you to the next level. Now, people often ask, for the last 10 years, I've been working very hard. For the last 10 years, I have slogged and I've given my blood, my sweat to this company. What has the company done for me? Well, the company will not do anything for you because the company does not have the time and the energy to do that. It's your responsibility to take charge of your career. You have to be the captain of your own ship. You can't expect someone else to do that. That's absolutely idiotic. Not that the company doesn't want to, but the company doesn't have the time and the resources to. It's your objective. It's your idea to make yourself more visible in the organization. So your ethical shortcut, I call it an ethical shortcut because you're not taking anything as a wrong measure here. You're actually following what ethics says, but you are being smart and you're applying for different opportunities in the organization. You're knocking on the door through the most influential people. So look for opportunities to connect with them. The next time around, if you know that your CEO will be in your organization, in your office, and you rarely get to see your CEO, make it a point to see him at least for a couple of minutes. At least when you see him in the lobby, look at him and say, you know, it was great to watch your interview on television. Thank you so much for that. I really love the way you put across this point. That's it. You don't need to do much. You don't need to say, no, look at me, look at me, look at me. No, that's not what you want to do. Also, another way that you can connect with these influencers is by appreciating them. Now you can say, how do I appreciate someone who's a CEO, or how do I appreciate my own boss? Now that's where you need to learn. Genuine politics also talks about the importance of appreciation, but appreciation again has to be genuine. Okay, you can't just use appreciation as if you're buttering someone. That will not work. People are smart. Even if you try and butter a 5-year-old kid, he understands that you're trying to butter him or her. So be very subtle. Okay, this is called the step in and the step out approach. You step in, you appreciate people and tell them what you're appreciating there for. For example, when you meet a CEO, you cannot just say, "So you're a great leader." Okay, but what makes you say that? Yeah. So give an example or talk about an incident that actually makes the person feel that he's a great leader. So for example, so organizations across the world are actually panicking with the current pandemic, but I have seen you have tried to maintain your cool, you don't panic. And I think that has a tremendous positive impact on the rest of the team as well. So I really would like to appreciate you for that. Well, can you appreciate your boss and your super bosses like that? Of course, they are also human beings. They love when people appreciate them honestly and genuinely. Okay. In fact, I would say, if you see that some of your top influencers are on social media platforms, follow them. Because on social media platforms, influencers usually tend to be slightly more informal. You also get to see their human side of it. For example, if you see your CEO is on Twitter, there is a definite reason for you to be on Twitter and follow your CEO, because you'll get to know the train of thoughts. How does your CEO put forward himself? Because he is also trying to influence someone. He's perhaps trying to influence the government. He's trying to influence the industry thought leaders. That's his style of influencing. So that's how you pick things up. So you can use platforms like LinkedIn. You can use platforms like Twitter, where you can follow your influencers. So first starts with identifying them. Second, make a list. Look at people who are going to be important for you. Third, reach out to them, connect to them. And even if you fail, there is nothing that you lose, because influencers are not easily approachable all the time, but an attempt is definitely worth it. So identify people who can introduce you to these people. Right. Now, the third thing that you need to do, which I think is phenomenally important, and unfortunately, a lot of people are weak at this. So how many of you personally think that, you know what, I am very good at establishing workplace relationships or building relationships in general? How many of you think you are good at it? Raise your hands if you think you're good at building relationships. Okay, a lot of people said that. Very interesting. Very good to know that. Okay, thank you. Now, the next important question is, if you think you're good at relationships, what makes you good at relationships? Okay, so tell me one mantra again. This is what I do, and therefore I'm able to build fabulous relationships with people. What is it that is my trick, my secret weapon to build relationships with people? Remember, we're not just talking about hello, hello. We're talking about deep relationships, relationships that will work when it matters. I'm not asking if you have 5,000 connections on Facebook. That is not relationship. That is just contacts. There is a difference between contacts and people with whom you have deeper relationships. Okay, so a couple of points here. Rakesh and Govind have said, okay, empathy, keeping frequent rapport with others, connecting with people, sharing information with each other, being in touch, understanding professional aspirations. Very good, excellent point. You need to also understand what is it that the other person wants. Also, with your influencers, know what is the objective that your influencers have. Yeah? What is it that they want to achieve from this workplace, in life general, and if there is even a small contribution that you could do, perhaps that would be fabulous. Okay, so great. Mutually rewarding, humorous, caring, fantastic. I think these are things on the right lines. Let's try and understand this in a deeper sense. How do you build relationships? How do you start this? So first and foremost, no relationships becomes deeper or stronger in a single day. It's impossible. You know, in movies, we often hear about this term called love at first sight. Well, good. If it works in real life, I'm really happy with it. But that's not true of relationships in general. Relationships require time. And there are two forms of relationships that I'll tell you. The first form of relationship is called chewing gum relationships. What is chewing gum relationship? So a chewing gum relationship is, you take the chewing gum and you swallow it. For the first 2 minutes, it's fabulous. It's like heaven. The chewing gum really tastes sweet, it's juicy, and you enjoy it. After 2 minutes, it's the worst thing you could have in your mouth. You just want to spit it out as quickly as possible. That's called the chewing gum relationships. The second form of relationship is what is called as a pickle relationship. Now, Indian households are used to eating pickles, जिसको हम अचार कहते हैं. So what is the pickle relationship? The beauty of pickles is the older it gets, the tastier it becomes. For those households who don't eat pickles, you can call it wine relationships, because same is true of wine. The older it gets, the tastier it becomes, the premium it becomes. Now ask yourself, what kind of relationships have you had with people in general? Have your relationships been chewing gum relationships or pickle or wine relationships? Now, the kind of relationships that we really want to develop is the second one, the pickle or the wine relationships, because the earlier ones are in many. There are many people whom you meet in your first company. How many of them are you in touch with? And one standard format, Indians love to say that, hey, let's keep in touch, huh? Let's keep in touch. All the best, congratulations. I'll see you, I'll call you, I'll definitely call you. And then we never call, we never follow up, and we lose touch. That is not how you build relationships, okay? So one of the things that you need to understand is most relationships that you have will end up being chewing gum relationships. You can't help it. Sometimes it happens because you've lost touch, but building relationships is not an automatic thing. It requires effort. So if you want to make something into a pickle relationship or a wine relationship, it takes effort. What is the effort? Okay, so for example, you look for building or connecting with a new person. The first thing you look for is what is common. And often people don't look for commonality. People say, what is different about this person? Okay, you'll find the differences, but let's see what is common. Even when you have a conversation with a stranger at an airport, or let's say it's your first day in your new team at the office and you're meeting people, you're getting introduced, you're also sharing information about yourself. Even in that 5-minute conversation, you should identify what is common between you and the other person. Hey, so what do you do in general? And the other person says, well, I like watching sports. Oh, fantastic. What kind of sports do you watch? Well, generally I watch cricket, but sometimes also football. Oh, fantastic. I love cricket as well. So you're tracking the latest developments in the world of cricket. That's how you start your conversation. Look for something which is a commonality. Okay. And when you use something as commonality, that helps you to build on your conversation. That is the first step in building your rapport. Okay. Also, what you can do is offer help. Hey, look, when it comes to making PowerPoint presentations, I have had extensive experience. Pehle company mein na 24 घंटे PowerPoint presentations ही बनाता था. So if you ever need help in PowerPoint, na, don't worry about it. You can come to me. I can give you as many templates as possible. So I can help you there. So offer help. Now, what is the importance of offering help? The next time you need help, people are generally likely to oblige because you help them initially. So always be the first one to offer help. Now, sometimes people will not remember that. So you got that, that's part and parcel of the game. Not everyone will reciprocate. For example, India as a nation also helps so many African countries, so many Asian countries. Do you think all these countries remember, oh, India helped us, we need to help them back? No, sometimes they don't, but that's okay. There are always pluses and minuses, but always be the first one to offer this gesture of help. And when need be, always be there for help. Now, this works on a principle called the principle of reciprocity. When you help people, they will also be obliged to help you. And that works beautifully. For example, you are good at PowerPoint presentations and your friend requires your help. You help him create that PowerPoint presentation, because of which he gives a fabulous presentation, helps him a lot. And he says, you know what, great, yeah, thank you so much. Do not ask for help then and there, because then it becomes transactional. Chal, maine madad ki na teri, ab tu meri madad kar. That's not how it works. You ask for help when you actually need it. So every time you score a good point, a plus point, it's like a bank credit. You use it only when you need it, not every now and then. Okay. Otherwise it becomes real trade and transaction. I helped you, you helped me. Okay. That's not how it should be used. I've helped you. If I ever need help, I'm definitely going to come back to you. I hope you don't mind that. Oh yes, why not? Please do let me know how I can help you. So always be eager to ask this one question. How can I help you? What is the way I can add value to your objectives? Now, this is a very positive form of politics, but it works tremendously well because it tells people you are there. And even if the other person does not ask you for help, the very fact that you offered help increases the respect that this person has for you as a human being. Yeah. Also, if you have to compliment someone, Okay, you have to complement it with genuineness. And therefore, my advice, my suggestion, my recommendation to you is whether you're complimenting your boss, whether you're complimenting your colleague, or perhaps your CEO, or to any other person in the office, always remember it has to be genuine and it has to be for a particular reason. Okay, so for example, if you are complimenting someone for their achievement, spell that out. So I think you have done a fabulous job because you won 3 awards back to back. Great job. So that's the reason why you're complimenting. Simply saying that you are a great person, you are amazing, you are this and that might be perceived as flattery. Even if it is not flattery, it might come across as being flattery. Okay, so be very, very genuine. And also when you congratulate or compliment people, you have to be slightly more exercise caution around it, especially when there is also gender difference. It's imagine for a man to go out and appreciate a lady's beauty. Even if you have the most pious intentions, it might be construed in a wrong manner. So just be careful of those points as well. So you got to be aware of the environment. You got to be aware of the gender that is in picture here. These are things that you got to be aware. And that's also something which a smart corporate personnel would always do, is that you're aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? So those are some of the things that you need to understand and be very, very careful about. Also, if you have a conflict, what you do and what you don't do during a conflict reveals a lot about your personality. For example, even if you disagree with someone, let's say you disagree with one of your colleagues in the team, can you tell me what will be the statement that you use? Okay, you can drop me that statement in the chat box. You completely disagree with someone in the team. It's a stupid idea, idiotic idea. How will you disagree with this particular person? You are in a meeting with 10 other people in the team. What will you do here? So show me a statement in the chat box which shows that you disagree. How will you put forth that disagreement? Come on, go ahead. I want to see some comments coming in the chat box. If you disagree with someone during the course of a meeting, how will you demonstrate? How will you put forth your disagreement? Okay, not supporting for their statement. So Santosh says not supporting. I think we can do it in a different way. So what is a different way? Show me that. I'm not satisfied with what you said. All right. Aman says, I'll directly say I'm not satisfied with what you said. Sorry, I'm not in the same, I don't have the same opinion, by suggesting a different solution. Okay. All right. So fine. Sorry, I prefer to disagree. Okay. I will use a sandwich method, says Pratyush. Okay. So what I'm generally getting the sense from what you're saying is you have to disagree, but without hurting the sentiments of the other person. Okay. For example, if you disagree with someone, you can say, no, that's a stupid idea. It will not work. अरे फालतू है, काम ही नहीं करेगा. मैं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं 2 बार try करके देख चुका हूँ. And a lot of people take pride in it. I shot down his idea. You know, उसका मुंह देखने लायक हो गया था. Well, who is the bigger idiot here? It's him or you? The answer is very clear. The fact is, even if you have to shoot down an idea, there is a very positive way of doing it. So for example, even if you know that the idea is stupid, don't make the person look stupid. It's not the person, it's the idea that is stupid, not the person behind it. And we all give stupid ideas at times, but that's okay. That does not mean you demean someone or demoralize someone. So for example, someone made a point and you said, you know what, I understand where you're coming from. However, I don't quite think this will work. Perhaps you might want to elaborate and explain how you think we can practice this. And once that person says, well, I still believe this will not work because of these and these reasons. So no matter how stupid the idea is, you still respect the person. You might want to shoot down the idea, and by all means you should, but do not insult the person. Okay. Yeah, very good. So Govind has a statement here. I will say that, can we do it like this? Can we consider it doing it this particular way rather than looking at this option? What do you think about this? So ask for opinion. Or you could also use what is called as safety statements. And this is very true even when you're talking to people at a higher level. Suppose you're talking to your manager or your boss and you want to disagree on a point, or with a client and you want to disagree with the point. How do you do that? So you can say, please pardon me if I'm wrong. However, my thought process is slightly different. And if you think I'm on the wrong track, please help me here. So use a safety statement so that you don't unduly hurt people's egos. Remember, with hierarchy, there is an ego. We often say with great power comes great responsibility, but also remember with great power comes great ego. So don't hurt people's ego. So remember that when people make statements and you oppose those statements, slightly be more optimistic in your disagreement and showcase more respect. I'm sorry, sir, I do understand what you're trying to say here. However, I'm not sure if you're aware of the latest changes that have happened in the client end, because given those changes, this idea may not really work. But I still want to know, how do you feel we should go and implement this? That's a far better way. That's a political diplomacy. Rather than saying, no, sir, this will not work. No chance. That is where the difference between being polished and being abrupt comes into picture. Yeah. You agree with me? If you agree with what I just said, give me a show of hands. I feel this one thing can help you save a lot of unnecessary conflicts. A lot of times people end up having bad relationships because they get into these ugly messes. So even when you disagree with people, choose where you want to disagree. Sometimes if you think it's very difficult to deal with someone, keep your mouth shut. Talk to that person one-on-one. Okay. For example, someone has made a statement and you disagree with him or her. You don't want to speak right now because you feel the person's ego might get offended. Talk to that person in personal capacity, saying that, look, I respect what you said inside there, but I don't feel the idea will work. And let me explain you why I think so. And if you still disagree with me, I'm completely okay with that. So there are two reasons why it will not work. Reason number one, reason number two. What is your opinion about this? And the other person might say, yeah, that does make some sense. Let me think about it and come back. Oh, great. Thank you so much for listening to me. That's what you do. When you see the person is not able to take your critique of the idea then and there in front of 10 other people, do it separately. Talk to him one-on-one so that you can address the problem separately. People respect that. People respect the fact that you did not disagree with them openly. तुझे मेरे साथ problem था ना, सबके सामने क्यों बोला? Why did you call out my name in front of everyone and said I disagree with you? Okay, so that could also happen. So you got to identify which person appreciates what. Some people might say, "Hey, great, yeah, you identified what is a flaw in my idea." Some people will appreciate you even when you criticize their ideas. But not everyone will do that. Sometimes people's egos are so big, even if they don't have the designation, their egos are very big. And you don't want to unnecessarily poke a needle in their egos. You don't want to do that. So be very, very watchful, be very, very alert. That's also part of corporate politics. And if you know how to deal with it, it will only help you to become far more better. Don't try to be a hero. Okay, that's flamboyance. Sometimes people try to look better than their boss. What happens because of that is you're unnecessarily bringing in a lot of egos. I had a personal account where, I thought my ability to communicate is really good. So I never used to brag about it. But what happened is it was a very visible virtue. But I never knew that my immediate manager got insecure because of it, because he thought I'm trying to showcase, I'm trying to, show how smart I am. So the fact is, don't unnecessarily try to showcase your skills and your strength where it is not required. If you see someone is not happy with what you're doing, especially someone in a position of strength, taking a step back is okay. It's a sensible thing to do. You don't want to unnecessarily create animosity because someone gets insecure. You want to showcase your strength. There is an opportunity, do it there. Perhaps in a promotional interview, perhaps when you're presenting your product in front of a client, or when you're making a point in front of your team. Why are you unnecessarily showcasing your talent just to show your heroics and attracting more and more animosity unnecessarily? Because other people might feel that you're trying to put them down, which you're not, but that's how the actions might be construed. So be careful about it. That's another way to ensure that you do not have unnecessary conflicts. So that's the part I'm talking about. Don't be overtly confident. Don't try to, portray your image heavily on other people, even if it's an informal setting. So a lot of times in parties, corporate parties especially, people say, you know what, I will tell you what I did when I had this problem. So I did this, फिर मेरे boss ने ये कहा, फिर मैंने उनको ये कहा, and boss happened to be very happy, and then he promoted me immediately. Great. Keep it to yourself. That's not the kind of story you want to tell other people to showcase how great you are. If you are great, people should be able to identify your greatness. Don't talk about it from the rooftop. that is something which you can surely avoid. Yeah. So talk about visibility or making yourself visible, but you have to do it in a subtle manner. Okay. If I have to say, it's the difference at the end of the day about, you don't need to have a press conference to tell people how great you are. Correct? The best opportunity to showcase your greatness is when you are invited on the podium in an award ceremony and you receive an award, people get to know you're great. That's what you need to do. So create opportunities where you get to make yourself visible, but don't try to push for your visibility. Don't try to make sure that, look, I am this, I am that, because people hate that. Okay. Even if they don't hate you for the work that you've done, they will start hating you for the kind of notion you have about yourself. So don't be self-obsessed is the point that I'm trying to make. Yeah. Give me a show of hands if you agreed with what I shared. Don't be self-obsessed. There are many other better things to do. So focus on that. Great.